I will just do a new save as and call this the columns. I would show you guys a column example, and I would delete everything except my grid. Okay, what I want to do right now, so this is just a grid that I have. I'll go back to my Revit environment. I turn off the sound path, I don't need it anymore. I just want to play with the columns that I have in Revit and see how we can access those in Dynamo. So here, column, under architectural column, there's this rectangular thing that I can pick. I'm just going to place them here so that we see what we have. That's one type, this is the second type, and that is the third type. To make them a little bit more distinguishable, I'll change the numbers in these guys. So this is, let's say this is 300 by 300. This one is 500 by 500. And that one is an 800 by 800. So that they are a bit more distinguishable. So those three, however, I didn't change their names, but the family types are available in my Revit, and I know that. So going back to my Dynamo, I can access those family types. So if you just right-click and type in, again, right-clicking is a faster way of getting to those, but if you want to know how to access them through libraries, under Revit, under selection, no. Yeah. Yes? Family types. Oh, okay. Yeah, there. Okay. That. Then it gives you all the family types that are in your model, so you can go through them and try to think what your columns were. To make it easier, I could have just selected a column and know the name before doing this. So this is M rectangle. So back to Dynamo. I'm looking for M rectangle. There we go. So those are the three column types that I have. So M rectangle 1, I'll make copy and pastes. So those three. M rectangle type 2 and M rectangle type 3. So those are the three columns that I have in Revit. Then I can just place these guys in my environment. There's a node called element by node, or family instance by node. Sorry, by point, I mean. So you can place a Revit family instance given the family type using a point. So I'll just say this guy, and the point default is 0. And you should be able to see that somewhere in the environment. Maybe not here. I'll give it to all these points. Point of coordinate, that, and this one, there, these points to that. Okay, I don't know why it's not showing up. Okay, there I should have my columns there. There's an error. Okay, so level based. All right, that's fine. So there's another type of family instance point that also defines the level. So you give the family to it, you give the point to it, you also give the level to it. So if you type in levels, you can now say, okay, these are the levels I have available in my Revit file. Level 1 there, and now we should have one column there. Okay, now this is a scale issue. That number 5 is maybe too small because 500. This is a bit better, still not very good. I make that okay. I make this to 1,000, so my step numbers are bigger. Yes.
Did you do something to show the column?
No, they were just not. There was an error here, like that guy, because they needed to have levels defined for them. I used a different node. Then all the columns were on top of each other, and the reason was this number was in millimeters, and I give that 5. So it just put all the columns on top of each other. I changed that to 1,000, so that there is a meter separation between all the columns. Now it is giving me a grid of columns. I can even make it a bit bigger so that it makes a little bit better visual effect. Now you can see that I have used one type to populate that grid of columns on that. It's always useful to have 2 screens so that you have your Dynamo on one screen and Revit on the other one. Is better to use that way, but as soon as I change that type, you can see that the columns are changing. So what I want to do that is a bit more interesting is to make a list of these guys. I'm just going to go do this a bit quicker because I know we're running over time. So I would make a list of these 3 items and connect all of those to that. So now I've got a list of all my 3 column types in. So if I do use a get item at index node here and give this list to that and make a slider integer that goes from 0 to 2 and connect this to that and use this item for my family type. I make it a bit cleaner so that you guys can follow a little bit better. Now you can see if I go back to my slider, by just changing the slider number, my columns are changing. The other thing I want to show you is to how I can make the size or types of these columns change based on their distance from a given point. So I'll make a point here. I'll just go back in a full Dynamo mode. I'll just make a point by coordinates. Assume I'm working with 0, 0, and 0. Or no, maybe let's just do the slider so that it's more fun. Okay, so I make a point that I can move around. And I'll change the maximum to maybe 100, 1,000, and the steps to 10. Now the scales make more sense now. Okay, it's a very large step scale. Okay, see everything's spread out. Zoom back in. I've got this going back here. I don't need a number for my Z value. I'll change that to 0. Now I want to get a distance from all the points that I have in the environment to my attractor point. So distance 2, my geometry to the other geometry, that is my grid of points. So what this does for me now is to make, if I do watch and connect, you can see for each of the columns here, it is giving me a distance number. I want to find a way to translate this into this slider. So here I only have 0, 1, and 2 to pick from. This is a bigger one, so there is a range map or remap range node that I can give it the list and say, okay, my new minimum is a number 0, and my new maximum is a number actually 2.99, because I want to keep the distribution even. So I want to get all the numbers between 0 to 1 being 0, all the numbers between 1 to 2 being 1, and all the numbers between 2 to 2.99 being 2. So it's a even distribution. And then from this, I would get the floor of the numbers, so making an integer out of it based on the floor. Deleting that wedge, connecting this to that. And then here, instead of that slider, I'm gonna connect this integer too. So now if I go back to my okay, let's see what I'm getting here. Watch. There. Okay, I'm getting a list of zeros, and all of them are 0. It's 2.99. Let's check this. What I'm getting there. Again, everything new is 0. There. These guys have numbers. The new minimum is 0. The new maximum is 2.99. Let's change that to 10 and see if that makes any differences. No. Okay, there's something wrong with this. Probably there's one number that is really out of hand. So instead of zeros, they should actually be numbers between 0 to 10. And I don't know why this is doing that to me.